Hey friends, I'm Christy, and you're listening to Rock the Damn Boat, a podcast for women who are done playing small. If you've been shrinking to keep the peace or waiting for permission to want more, climb aboard because we are going to make some waves together. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you're never left stranded on the shore. Now, on to the show. Okay, I am back for a Sunday shorty. I think this makes 2 weeks in a row that I have been consistent with it, so we will stick to that. Quiet on Wednesdays, but again, if you have anybody to send my way, I was watching a few restaurateurs on the Today Show today, and I think I have my sights set on some people who are making waves in the restaurant industry. So I don't know if you know anybody. I'm pretty intrigued by this. It was specifically around vegan food and people creating amazing dishes that are totally vegan. So got my curiosity piqued. Now, I don't live in somewhere like New York City or Portland, Oregon, where we can find those things readily, but I am excited to be on the road and headed to Vegas this week for a trade show. It is always an amazing place to try new things, to get everything your little foodie heart desires. I am going to be super vulnerable tonight. Not that I'm not always, but when I talk about recovery, I always want to, first of all, I recover out loud because I want to be able to help anyone who needs a sounding board, who maybe hears something from me that they're like, oh, yeah, okay, if she can do it, I can do it. And second of all, I am finding this becoming very present in my own life again. So tonight we're going to talk about patterns and tools that you may have to go back to that you have not touched in a very long time. Now, that's not a foreign concept, something I haven't brought up on the podcast before. But when we think about rocking the damn boat and these things that we do that are so big and bold and really change our lives, sometimes then that becomes your new normal. And that's great when it pushes you out of your comfort zone and you create this new baseline that is braver and bolder and less people-pleasing than you've been in your life. But then that can become, you almost become complacent with that. And so you have to look at these patterns. And maybe when you're falling back into old patterns or old behaviors or cycles in your life. So let's start with patterns. I have this interesting resume. The job that I just took in June was the first job that I have not taken in the fall. I graduated from college in August, so I had a summer semester to finish out my college education. I started a new job a long time ago, in the 20th century. I started my job that September, right after I graduated, stayed there for 12 years, left in September, I think it was, stayed at that job for a year or two, changed jobs in October to go work for PetSmart, started interviewing for Oxbow in the middle of the summer, but didn't actually get and start that job until November because they were working some things out internally. Every single job change I have made up until this recent one were all in the fall. Now, if you count the fact that I left corporate at the end of November, right before Thanksgiving, and I held true to that pattern in the sense that I left in November and then I started a new job in June. So it's really interesting to notice these things, these times of year. Facebook certainly makes that easy because now we can look at Facebook memories and see, okay, this is what was going on. And sometimes you might see things, photos, events that you've documented that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 5 years ago and I'm going through this same thing that I'm going through now. When we think about patterns, think about weather. There's a reason they can predict hurricane season, which is starting up soon. There is a reason that they can predict El Nino and La Nina and different patterns of weather. Now, do they always get it right? No. And do we feel like it's pretty erratic these days? Yes. But in general, we fall is going to come. We know it's going to get cold and maybe icy in the winter, or snowing depending on what part of the country you're in. So there are patterns to the weather, even if from a day-to-day standpoint, they seem completely off the wall. Look at your life in the same way and notice anything that is unique or stands out to you. Sometimes that can be really interesting, not in the sense of predicting the future. However, there may be something that as you start to notice it, you think, wow, I get a little restless this time of year and I usually want a new haircut, which is typically the fall. I think everybody feels like they change their look in the fall. Notice those things because they may help you in the times coming up that you've experienced that same thing. Now, of course, memories and experiences help shape us and help us understand how we acted in a certain situation in the past. But noticing these patterns can help you better predict what you need for the future and to navigate a season of life that might feel a little bit familiar. For me, I have shared multiple times on the podcast that menopause has really rocked my world. I didn't see it coming with the brain fog and the Swiss cheese brain. Now, I absolutely can look back. I can read old journals and see that I was having perimenopausal symptoms, some joint pain. I've shared they diagnosed me with rheumatoid arthritis, or at least I tested positive for the marker. And so my doctor preemptively started on a medication that another doctor said I never should have been taking. But I took that for 2 years thinking that I was on the verge of active rheumatoid arthritis, when in reality, the joint pain was very likely related to perimenopause. Other things like losing hair, which there was concern around lupus. And so all of these things, we also are experiencing perimenopausal symptoms that I think last I saw, there could be 75 different symptoms. I keep saying to millennials and Gen Z, oh my gosh, how lucky are you that we're going to know all of these things as you start to get older. Now, it can be a blessing and a curse because then everything that starts to happen, you think, oh gosh, here I am. I'm headed down this path of menopause. But for some women, doesn't do anything. But for me, it completely changed the way my brain works. And the ADHD symptoms have been really severe. Now I have started on a medication that seems to be helping. So that's good. That's been a great way for me to, focus when I need to. I also have always had anxiety, but it had been really manageable with yoga and breath work and meditation. What I found was my worst symptom over the past probably 6 months has been rumination. And rumination is just not being able to let go of something no matter how hard you try. You could throw all the tools at it and all the breath work and all the yoga, and you can't stop this spiral in your mind, this constant loop of, in most cases, negativity. Some cases, worry. For some people, it's worry or it's fear. For me, it was a lot of times frustration about certain situations. And so I would stay in this negative loop. And I tried lots of different methods. I kept dragging my feet on something that I knew would be likely to help, and that was recovery meetings. I realized today that postmenopausal, I am now postmenopausal. So in this new postmenopausal chapter of life, I was feeling like a dry drunk. And if you've never heard the term dry drunk, it is all of the traits of, fear and anxiety and control and overthinking and all of these things that can plague alcoholics, which is why people drink in the first place, to quiet those voices, to numb that out. And even if you don't want to drink, you can still get caught up in that loop. I have also found that I am drinking caffeine and coffee specifically, in the same manner, in a similar manner to the way I would drink. So like there's not enough coffee in a day. But I've done pretty good with cutting myself off by noon. I have read up on 400 milligrams a day, which seems like a lot considering a cup of coffee might have 75. So technically you could have 4 cups of coffee in a day and still be in the normal range of caffeine. Now, I might have a venti Americano from Starbucks, so that's 3 shots, maybe 4 shots of espresso plus coffee in the morning. So yeah, give me all the coffee because at the end of the day, I have very addictive tendencies, whether it's sugar or coffee. All that to say, I was seeing these patterns of behavior. So there's patterns in life and then there's patterns of behavior. And I was seeing this pattern show up of just being really like gripping to different things. And when I've coached women over the years, I've said, don't grip to an outcome. Don't grip to an outcome. And here I was like gripping to everything in my life and taking a lot of things personally and just all of these behaviors that just felt like things that I had tackled and overcome in the past. I've gone to a couple of support meetings. I really have felt at home there because when you are in a room full of people who are trying to better themselves, there's so much hope. There's so much hope in those rooms. And in 12 steps specifically, we talk about sharing experience, strength, and hope. And hope is a beautiful thing. And when you're in the opposite state of that, you're restless, irritable, and discontent. And that's definitely the way I have been feeling. So I'm finding this renewed sense of self. I am early back in that journey. And to be very clear, I have no desire to drink. I do not want to go down that path again. I have zero interest in alcohol. It's been like just caffeine binging, and not today, surprisingly, even though I am very animated today. But I am optimistic about finding like the right support group, and my friends have been really supportive and, support communities. It is so important in this day and age where we could spend all day, every day glued to a phone, glued to our smartphones, watching reels, watching TikTok, watching whatever social media choice or content choice you choose. And you may be watching me here on YouTube. I mean, I certainly help fuel the constant steady stream of content. But take breaks and connect with real people because it is so important to know that you're not alone, to surround yourself with some level of positivity when everything feels so dark. And I was on an online support group today that nobody had their camera on. It's not even like you have to be really visible. But there are support groups for everything. I mean, everything. If you feel like you're struggling with something or you're seeing an old pattern of behavior creep up that you're concerned about, I promise there's a group or a meetup or a Facebook group or, wherever you need to find that support, I'm sure it's out there. And if you're worried about, anonymity or anything like that, then, I get it. But if you need help finding the right group, reach out to me. I'm happy to help. And it doesn't have to be alcohol related. It could be anything. I am well connected in the wellness space. It's interesting. So I've started wearing a Whoop and a friend turned me onto it. And I've gotten so many people ask me, is that a Whoop? And yes, it's a Whoop. I was having a difficult conversation yesterday. I was really stressed. My stress on my Whoop registered as weightlifting because I was at a 3 out of 3 with stress. And so when you think about what stress does in the body, my fitness tracker thought that I was lifting weights. My heart was racing. My oxygen rate was lower, all these things that was putting stress on my body. So when you think about the importance of getting help, finding community, making connections, taking care of yourself, then that was proof for me that I need to stop ruminating, because apparently rumination actually has that effect to weaken your immune system. And so I've got to get out of this habit of rumination and into a space of recovery and relaxation. That's it for tonight's Sunday Shorty. And I will talk to you again soon. Notice those patterns in your life. See they can be good. They don't have to be bad patterns. They can be good. They can be interesting. See what's on the horizon for you. And if you need any help connecting to people, then please reach out to me at thrivewithchristy.com. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to Rock the Damn Boat, a podcast produced and recorded by Christy Hughes. You can follow, subscribe on both Apple and Spotify, and your 5-star review goes a long way. Thank you so much for your support of the show.